Hey everybody, I'm Nathan. I'm the product manager for Unity Cloud Build, and I'm here with most of the rest of the Unity Cloud Build team. Thanks for coming to the talk today. We started the open beta of Cloud Build, the first public launch of it at Unite last year. And the last 12 months have been really cool for us. We've been watching people use the service, which has been exciting because we worked on it for so long. We've been connecting with people in the community, developers, and all the different brilliant minds at Unity. And we've just learned so much about our service and how you want to use it, and the kind of problems it solved for you, and also the kind of problems you need it to solve next. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So how many people are currently using Cloud Build, if you could raise your hand? Okay, yeah, so a few of you. Excellent. And how many of you haven't started using it yet because you aren't doing mobile, you're doing desktop stuff? So a couple, okay. So basically the way the service works is you're using source control. We support 4 different types. We watch your source control host, and when we see that there's new changes that have been pushed up to it, we just start making builds, and we make the builds according to your specifications, how you've told us to make them, basically. And then once they're done, you can download, and if it's a mobile device, you can just open up our website and install it and test out your game. So those are the basics, the basic overview, right? It's the takeaway is that it's a very simple user experience. You just configure a project, and then it just starts building. You can trigger it manually, but it's a very elegant, powerful, but simple user experience for you, right? Essentially, it's automation and it's distribution of your games, so that you don't have to type your local machine doing all this stuff, and also you can stay in sync with all your team members who are making builds at the same time. The thing you don't see on this chart is that when we make builds, we also send emails to all the collaborators of a project explaining what happened. Did it fail? If it failed, you get a build log. If it succeeded, you get links to go download and try it out. So these are the features we had up until yesterday for you to use. Basically, we're automatically creating builds on iOS, Android, and Web Player. We have a pretty customizable set of build steps for you to use. Like if you were here for Luke from Sego's talk, you could see how they were using our pre-export. You could write a C# method. We'll run for you before we start the process, and one after. We had a distribution mechanism for downloading the builds and stuff you made onto your devices. And then we had sort of the different feature sets available in different plans, and one of those things was some source control was in free and some were in the paid plans and all that. Well, starting today, we're now double the number of platforms we build for. We build for 6 now because we've added Windows Desktop and Mac OS X and Linux. We opened up the advanced features. Every feature, every method, every custom setting you can do in Cloud Build, you can do in every plan. You can still install completed builds on all your devices. You can download the zips of the executables for the desktop systems. You can use any of the 4 flavors of source control that we support. You can use in any plan. There's no more segregation of the source control types. We make Android split binaries now, so if you're building for Google Play, we'll actually build that for you, and you can take it and upload it to the store, which is something people really wanted on the Unity feedback site. That was our #1 request because people's projects were too big to upload into Google Play without that. And we also have this really cool feature we call build targets, which you can make as many of those per project as you need. And I'd like to explain that a little bit. But first, just taking the new platforms into account, I said we doubled it from 3 to 6, but the cool thing is actually there's 2 flavors of Windows, 32, 64, 32-bit, 64-bit, and universal versions of Mac OS X, the same for Linux. And this actually unlocks like a whole new world for us and for you. You can now build stuff for Steam. You can build stuff to use on an Oculus, VR experience. Cloud Build can now help you with all that. It's not just about mobile, Android, and iOS stuff anymore, and Web Player. So we've added just that right there would even have broken our old sort of UI, and so we refactored a lot of how the site works to meet our users' requirements. And this is how we came up with build targets. Basically, like Luke was saying in his talk right before this, if you're building for iOS and then 2 kinds of Android, before you had to do a bunch of complex stuff and you had to duplicate projects in Cloud Build and they're building from the same branch or the same repo in your system. No more. now you can have one project and you could have a different build target for each store you're building for, right? So iOS and Google Play and another Android store, and you could have as many of those as you want. You could build for 12 flavors of Android if that's what you need, or 2 different kinds of iOS builds. But it's not just about the storefronts. The other thing, you can also use build targets to build for out of different branches of the same repo. So you could have a dev branch and a QA branch and the release branch. You can set up build targets to do each of those things all inside of your one project. Another great example is you can have different signing credentials for each build target. And we actually save those for you so you don't have to on our old system you had to re-upload them, and keeping track of the mobile provision files and all that stuff is such a drag. So we now allow you to name a credential set, and when you're making a new target you can just pull up the one you've already added, and it unlocks all sorts of free time just so you don't have to, hey, which credentials is this device for and all that stuff. It's just handled as part of our system. You know, and when you combine this with our each build target gets its own set of advanced features, or advanced settings, I should say. And one of the advanced settings we offer is, you know, there's the pre-export method, which something we run before the project builds. You know, a post-export method. We also allow custom scene lists. And so you could just have different build targets that were building 1 or 2 or 4 scenes of your project. And so it's really, really powerful. And I can actually, maybe I'll just give you a real quick demo of how this works so you can see it on the new site, because it's pretty cool. And as long as the internet cooperates, this should be fine. So let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, can everybody see that okay? So here's a project. I'm building Angry Bots. I've got it building for 3 platforms. You can see, if you have existing projects in Cloud Build, they'll have names like default Android, you know, because we're bringing them into the future from before this new build target system, we just gave them default names for you. So if you had an iOS build, it'll be default iOS or default Android. So now let's say I want to build for a different flavor of Android. I want to do something for the Google Play Store. I want to use this new Android split binary feature, right? So I'm going to go to this tab we call Targets. These are your build targets. So this top level is the source control URL that we're building from, right? It's basically the URL, the SSH key that we give you to give us access to it. But then each of these little blurbs is a build target. So I'm going to take my default Android build, and I'm going to copy it. I have some that you can see that I've set up here that I didn't actually build for earlier, but I'm just going to copy this default Android build. So this is another cool thing, right? Being able to copy these things without starting it up from scratch each time and inputting all this stuff. I'm going to call this one Google Play. Oops, can't type. All right. And yeah, it's going to be for Android. Did I write play or play? I can't tell. All right, it's good enough. I'm going to hit create, and it's going to set up a new build target for me, if the internet is being kind. Maybe it's not. Let's see. Come on, bits. All right, well, I'll go back to the slides while this works. So, where are we? So, I basically duplicated it. And when I get to that new build target, right, I can give it, it's got the label that I set. It's got the platform for Android. I can click that branch thing and change that to a different branch if I want. I could even change Unity versions. I mean, maybe that's not a typical use case, but you could really specify a lot of different settings. I can turn on and off auto build. And when I go to the advanced settings for this new build target that I just duplicated, you can see there's a split application binary checkbox. I just tick that, so now I'm making the split application binary for the Google Play Store. I could specify different pre- and post-export methods, different scripting defined symbols. Those are all per target per project, which is super powerful. And I could go so far as to just start up a new project, a new build target. So if I click the Setup New Target, the blue button, the first thing I see is this menu, which is like, okay, well, you're starting from scratch, so which platform do you want to build for? And here's a list of our platforms. So you pick that, and then, you know, let's do a Windows 32-bit. I'm going to do something in VR, right? Pick 32-bit, name it, you know, VR. And the end result of all this, right, is after I've, you know, start making build targets, very quickly you have this super powerful idea in our system, right? You've got all your platforms, the build attempts, the different, like, build target names for each one. You know, all of a sudden you've got this really rich, powerful system archiving all of the work you're doing in Unity. So there's so many different ways you can use this, and we're really looking forward to finding out what you guys do with it next, and we're really hoping you can try it. You could sign up like for free and use all of the features I just showed you. The only so all those features, I could go, maybe if we have time at the end, we're going to take questions. So if you have specific questions, it'll be a chance for me to go in depth more into the advanced features. But this is now the only difference between our plans. We have, in the free tier, you can build up to a gigabyte project size. That doesn't include like the history of your repo or anything. That's just the head, right, the checked out project size. It'll do one simultaneous build at a time. So if you can set up 50 build targets. Our system will just build one, and then it'll wait 60 minutes, and then it'll build the next one, right? So that's the free plan. If you have Unity 5 Pro, you get for free Cloud Build Pro, and you can, there's a 2 gigabyte project size limit for that tier. It'll do 3 builds at the same time. So that means if you hit that Start Builds button, it'll kick off the first 3 build targets that you've configured and process all those simultaneously, and then it'll wait 30 minutes and then do another 3. So that's normally $25 a month if you don't have Unity 5 Pro, but if you have Unity 5 Pro, it's completely free. And then Studio plan has a 5 gigabyte project size limit, 6 simultaneous builds, 5 minutes between builds. It's really powerful. And remember, these Studio and Pro and these things, we don't have a collaborator limit now. So, if you want to try Studio and you're a 5-person studio, it's not $100 a month per person. It's just $100 a month for you and all the people you want to invite to your projects. So this is outrageously affordable considering that, trying to roll your own build system that will accomplish this stuff, I mean, you're going to sink so much time into it. Trust us, we did that. And you'll wind up, it's a lot of work. So we're really hoping that people will try out free if they haven't tried it out already and experience the magic, because once you don't have to click the build button in Unity all the time, you really wonder why you ever did it at all. And you also have got this great reference to look at all your logs. They're all in the same place. They're all centralized. People don't have to send each other build logs with errors. There's an email trail for everything. You know who to blame when Danny blows up the project. Ha! And so yeah, we're hoping that you'll go and sign up today and try it out. And I'd love to take questions. We've got the guys here, so we can go kind of deep if we like. Anyone has specific questions or experiences they want to talk about with it?
Hi. Is the max project size that you had listed on there the raw on-disk, like actual project assets, or the final builds?
No, not the binary that we make. It's the actual project, the Unity project, right?
Okay.
And it ignores, like, in the case of SVN and Git, it ignores all the history, so we don't, like, count the whole, it's not the repo size. It's just the checked out project, right? So if someone, like, went to that branch and pulled it down, excluding the history, that's what it would be.
Hi. I was wondering, are you going to support like feature branches being automatically built or the detection of it? Because the problem at my studio is we typically will we use Git flow.
Oh, right.
And it's sort of weighty to add those branches to
manually make the target and set the branch and then just do a couple builds of it and then destroy it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. In that case, I mean, how would you want to control that? Would you want it to just see any branch that had started with feature / make a target and build it?
Yeah, probably that would be the best
Basically?
way.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, we could actually, if you want to prototype that with us, especially if like, we have, one of the things I was on the chart but that I didn't go into in that much detail yet is our enterprise build customers. Those people have no limits on anything. Huge projects, no wait time. We'll do custom tweaking, VPN tunneling into your repo host if you're hosting it yourself. And we also get to pilot ideas like that, right? We could be like, yeah, let's try it. Let's see if we can set that up for you, see what happens, fine tune it. And then when it becomes something really powerful and useful, then it gets rolled into the service for everybody else as well. And so, yeah, that's interesting.
Can I get those guys?
Oh yeah, how's it going?
Hey, thanks. I was wondering about the possibility of optionally including assets, scripts, or even libraries with different builds. Like, are particular problem is we have an ad-free version and a non-ad-free version. And so to do a build out of the same project, we always build all those ad libraries, which adds, stuff, and it actually adds the ad identifier calls, which like iOS doesn't really like you to use. I was just wondering if there was any, short of like building a script that just strips them out of the project and throws them in a temp directory or something.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Please come talk to our engineers after, and I'm sure there's probably a way around that, so you don't have to yeah, I bet you that's something we could do. Come and talk to them in a bit. I'm sure they'd like to talk about that more.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you have a building for Unity Web Player, which, as far as I can tell, is becoming deprecated because of Chrome.
All the
blocking and
browser
stuff.
NPA stuff.
Yeah, so are you going to do HTML5 support? And also, in general, what do you recommend as what you should build for if you want to target the web?
So we're looking at WebGL, and I'm not sure, we don't have a date set for that, but it's one of the things we're looking at next, because for all the reasons you said. And it's another thing that we can host it, you can test it in our system, right? It's really useful. So yeah, I mean it's a timing question because the web player is sort of, like you said, with Chrome, there's some conflict there, and it's going to go away, and WebGL. Hopefully the timing will all work out for that, but yeah, I would say that come talk to our engineers afterwards too, and they can sort of share some of their experiences, because we're former game developers, so we understand sometimes how it's hard to get caught between that sort of shift in technology. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Let's go to this. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah. With our project, we have several thousand asset bundles, and I know previously asset bundles were not built to be deployed to our CDN. So obviously we need an enterprise solution to handle that. Is that now supported?
For our enterprise customers, yeah, we could set that up. I mean, we have we could build your asset bundles, and then it would just be a matter of firing them over wherever you want them to go to be hosted. And I think that's another example of the kind of feature for enterprise customers we'd love to work at all the kinks, get that set up for you, learn from it.
Another part is WSA. We do WSA projects as well, and so we need that kind of integration. Is that in the plan coming forward?
I'm not familiar with WSA.
Windows Store apps.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're looking at that too. We have to look at the next set of platforms we want to support and make some smart decisions. But we'd like to hear from you more about it and what your concerns are and how you want to use it and how you'd like that to work. So again, that's another great thing we'd love to talk with you about if you have time after this talk. And also, if you're not able to hang out, I know it's this is one of the later talks of the day, but if you don't get a chance to talk to us here today, we're almost all downstairs at the Cloud Build Analytics booth. So please come grab any of us, and we can talk more then too. Please go ahead.
Hey, I missed the most part of the presentation, so my question might not be relevant. But I'm wondering for the further enterprise customers, is there any way we can install this service in-house, without using your cloud?
Oh, run the service locally, basically. Yes. Not at this time. We think that's a really interesting idea. We really like to talk about it with people. You're not the first person to ask, and yeah, it's something that we'd like to think about. And the best thing I think would be for you to talk to us about sort of what the situation is in your office, like what your requirements are, and how you think that would work. In your mind, what parts of it would you want to host yourself or run yourself? If you can come and tell us that and give us some specifics, that we always collect all that information, because it's basically how we're going to try to architect that solution if we ever get to it. So,
thank you.
Go ahead.
So my main question was that asset bundle one, but I've got kind of an extended concept off of it. And I'm wondering the possibility of it. So the idea of having the assets that are built into asset bundles outside the repository and still getting those built into your cloud build.
Building asset bundles from somewhere else, but wrapping that and delivering it with the project?
Yeah, or like you were talking before, where you shove it off to somewhere else. But
Yeah.
the idea is the assets are not in your repository.
In that repo. Where would you like them to be in that case? A different repo? Like 2 repos?
Yeah, either like another repo or some other server storage that's just storing the raws.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, actually, if that was the case, I guess you could write a pre-export method or something that would go fetch them for you, and if they're already out there somewhere on the internet, right? Finding them wouldn't be hard. building them in that sort of situation is something we don't currently support because we just build for the one repo. But you could certainly pull things into the project before it gets built. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, if you want to describe that use case more to the engineers in a bit too.
Yeah, definitely. I might just stop down tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, there is another question. But quickly, I was also wondering about being able to trigger builds through an API.
Yes. So we have this API. Our previous API still works, and it allows you to start builds and allows you to kind of collect some information about the build, its success, a failure, all that stuff. There's a new API coming that we'll be unveiling in the not too distant future. It's the thing that powers this whole website that I just showed you. And so everything the website can do, you'll be able to do via our API. Like set up projects, set up a build target, add credentials to it, add an export method, everything. Start the build, delete the whole thing, all of that. So that'll be amazing. That's one of the things that I'm really, really excited about because I want to see how you guys use it. We were so happy when we saw the Sego guys had made a window in Unity that listed all their successful builds and the button to start them, and that's awesome. Like that's why one of the other reasons we refactored the whole site is that we wanted to build it all off of an API that we'd all be able to use. We'd use it to build the site, but then you guys could use it to do all sorts of things. I'm just counting down the days. In fact, we should start a betting pool about how long it'll be till someone makes a Slack bot to tell you about your cloud builds. We should offer prize money for that, actually. Some sort of gift. Cloud build fame. $2. I'm going to raise that to $5.
That's kind of funny. That was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah.
Slack integration.
Yeah, with the new API, it would not be difficult.
Excellent.
So callbacks, webhooks, all that. So.
And the other is a simple clarification. Previously, the Pro version was limited to 5 collaborators. Did you say that has been lifted and now?
Yeah. No, there's no collaborator limit anymore. Unity has moved to a universal user and organization model for all of the services. So you can go to the account system in Unity and make an organization and invite people to it, and those people see everything that you can see for all your projects. And there's no throttle on how many people there can be. So yeah, it's totally been lifted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I stepped in a little late, so maybe I already addressed this, but say with like Steam, just building it is, the first in like a 3 and 4 step process.
Mm-hmm.
Does the API have triggers or something in the API you can pull to find out when that's done? So that
yeah, so the idea is that there'll be like a callback and webhooks that will ping you when it's finished, right? So, and then you could, theoretically the way it would work is you'd start the build and then tell us, if it's a webhook, like where do you want us to ping when it's done, and then you could call back to that when you got the ping from us and then fetch the details about it, which is going to include the URL where you can download it and all this stuff. So yeah, you could automate the whole thing and invisibly fetch the results and do something with them, upload them to, a website, anything.
If I could ask one more real quick. Have you guys talked with Valve at all about maybe being able to send, to use your build location as the depot?
Use your build location as the...
So when you upload something to Steam, you have a depot you define on one of your machines.
Interesting.
So rather than downloading it and then uploading it.
Right, just fetch it from Cloud Build and put it on Steam, basically. Yeah, I mean, we are super interested in that. And if you wanted to, that's one of the things that we're talking to people about this week. What stores are you going to publish to from our platforms now, and how do you want it to work? And, so please come and talk to us about that. We'd love to hear sort of what would make your life easiest, essentially. Go ahead.
I had a question about symbols files, and if that's something that you keep on cloud.
DSIM files?
DSIM files, exactly. So we could download or send to crash reporting. And then is there any kind of plugin or any way we could send that off to our crash reporting tool?
So we have the files, even the old version of Cloud Build, when we made the iOS builds, kept the DSIM files for you, and you could download them for any build. As far as what you do with them after that, we don't really have any sort of sophisticated way to use them. Go ahead.
Not automated.
Yeah, we don't have an...
you can still send them off. It's not automated.
Okay, that would just be a manual step. We'd download them and then have to upload them somewhere else.
Services like Hockey App or something.
Right. Yeah, we do use Hockey App right now. It's mainly figuring out how to get it in there. Second question would be, is there any current support for Unity test tools or automated testing, or are there any plans for that in the future?
Yes. So we love the test tools. We actually have this totally working. It's just we have so much to do. Like we were working really hard to get the service to this state. It's going to be one of those things we do in the not too distant future, I hope, because we think tests are great. Test development is, obviously very smart, and the tools exist, and we actually have it all working. So some of our enterprise customers are using it now, and they're really happy with it. So we just need to add the UI for it and expose it in the system. So yeah. Go ahead.
So I guess it's kind of easier to explain the use case.
Mm-hmm.
So currently what we do, and we're not using Unity, is we take our builds and we build locally.
Mm-hmm.
And we make special builds which are instrumented, and we can run acceptance tests on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it just tests the entire UI, and if it fails, it will actually fail the build.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be possible with Cloud Build?
If it fails, are they unit tests or?
Acceptance. So they are, let's say they are kind of like unit tests, except they actually run on the actual application instead of on the unit test level.
Oh, I see.
So we simulate clicks, and we have scripted tests. So it's basically like automated QA. So the idea would be take your binary, send it somewhere else to
have it be tested
to our test lab, test it there, and send the result back to your test lab.
That's interesting. I think in some ways that equates the build result with the, like we allow you to, in the unit test case I was just describing, we allow you to say if it fails the unit test, actually count that build as a failure, even though we made it successfully. Mm-hmm. You're sort of taking it even a step further beyond that. It sounds like, some sort of like end user testing, and then that would tell the build it would be failed. There's no mechanism to do that in our system now, but yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I could see reasons for doing it that way. Please come talk to us maybe, and I'd love to know more about how you're doing that, and sort of what the process is after the binary is sent out somewhere, like what the interval is before you get it back, and how it's delivered back, and how the results are delivered. If there's some like really popular service everyone was using, integrating with it wouldn't be out of the question. So, I was going to see real quick, and if that answers your question, I was just going to see real quick if this thing has finished up yet. Let me see. The internet is cooperating. Yeah, so here's my, where did it go? Did it just die? Let's just try this one more time. And, okay, there it is. So here's my new dev branch, right? I just cloned this build. I can go and edit the basic info about it. I can change the branch. But what I was going to show you before was that, let's say I wanted to change the scene, the advanced settings, right? So here's the advanced settings, and I can come here, and I didn't make I was going to tick the Android split application binary box, but instead I can just change the scene list, right? I can say, you know what, just build level 1. And in fact, I guess it would make sense if I was going to do that, if this saves, I could come back here and actually rename this target, like, it's just going to be building level 1, so let's just call it level 1. Right. So now when I click Start New Builds, all of these targets will be kicked off in the system, and it'll start building all the things I've configured. You can also build just the target you just made. You don't have to kick off all of them at once. But kicking off all of them at once is kind of cool, because that's when you see like the simultaneous builds start to matter, right? You just get to see all these things building. So you can see these things are all pending now. I think my test account's on a free plan, and I already made some builds, so I'm going to have to wait a little bit. But on the pro plan, you don't wait as long. In Studio, you wait hardly at all. Even with waiting when things are building simultaneously, you're saving so much time, right? Imagine like building, waiting for it to complete in Unity, switching the build target, doing it again. I mean, we used to say like doing that 3 times saved you like 30 or 45 minutes. It's like saves you, when you're building like 5 or 6 or 10 build targets, we're talking about outrageous amounts of time savings. So I think that mostly covers it. Thanks very much for coming, everybody. Please go to the Cloud Build site and sign up and try it out. The URL, you can go to unity3d.com/build and check it out. And we'll talk to you later in the trade show. Thanks very much.